The ashes of old glory. There's a reason no one leaves the town of Ashford, Virginia on the 4th of July. Not anymore. You can call it tradition or superstition. Folks here dress it up in barbecues and parades, but everyone knows something's wrong. They just don't talk about it. Not out loud. Not where it can hear. Every year, the entire town gathers in the square for the reading of the names, the lighting of the lanterns, and the final firework, a single crimson burst over the war memorial. You miss that, you're as good as gone. Ask anyone who's lived here long enough. Or better yet, ask someone who tried to leave. I moved to Ashford 2 years ago. I was a traveling nurse, burned out from too many night shifts in too many cities. When I saw the listing for a quiet town in the Blue Ridge foothills, I jumped at it. It looked peaceful. Old houses, rolling green, not even a stoplight. It felt like stepping back in time. The people were polite, too polite. Every question was met with a smile that didn't quite touch the eyes. And from the start, everyone asked the same thing. You'll be here for the 4th, right? It wasn't a question. It was more like a test. I said sure, of course. Why wouldn't I? The first year, I noticed the tension. Everyone wore red, white, and blue, like they were required to. Kids marched in tight little rows for the parade. No music played, just drums, slow and hollow. That night, we all stood in front of the war memorial. A bronze eagle perched on a pedestal, wings spread over a ring of 13 lanterns. An old man read names off a weathered scroll. The crowd repeated each one softly, solemnly. Some cried, some whispered prayers. Then came the fireworks. Just one. A red starburst shot straight into the sky. No finale, no cheering. Everyone walked home in silence. I asked my neighbor what the ceremony was about. She looked at me like I'd asked to burn a flag. It's for the ones who didn't make it, she said. The ones who didn't listen. She never said more. This year, I tried to leave. I had a friend in Charlottesville. A weekend escape, fireworks on the lawn, wine and music. I packed Friday morning and told no one. But when I started my car, it wouldn't turn over. Battery dead. I tried calling roadside assistance. No signal. Not even Wi-Fi. Landline was dead too. So I walked. 10 miles down Route 27. No cars passed. The trees felt taller than usual. Closer. Then I saw the ash, falling from the sky. Just a few flakes at first. White-gray, drifting like snow. They didn't melt. They clung. The air smelled like old gunpowder. I turned back. When I got home, there were lanterns on every doorstep. Unlit, but warm to the touch. That night, I locked my doors and watched from the window as the townsfolk filed toward the square in total silence. No cars, just footsteps. They carried lanterns in a line, their faces pale and hollow. Something in me screamed to stay inside, but I opened the door and followed. At the war memorial, the old man began to read, but this time I recognized a name. Mine. He read it softly. The crowd echoed it. I wanted to speak, but my throat closed tight. I turned to leave, but no one moved. The red firework launched. As it burst, I saw shapes in the light. Figures floating above the crowd. Men in tattered uniforms, hollow eyes glowing like embers, bayonets and blackened flags clutched in skeletal hands. The ash fell heavier. People began to disappear, one by one. No screams, just smoke and empty clothes. I tried to run. Something cold gripped my arm. I woke in my house, choking on soot. It's July 5th. Everyone's gone. Every house is empty. Every phone is dead. The war memorial is blackened. The eagle statue cracked and headless. And there are 13 lanterns burning on my porch. I finally understand. The town doesn't celebrate the 4th of July. It reenacts a pact made during the war. One soul every year, burned into history, to keep the ghosts fed. I missed the firework, and I heard my name. Next year, someone new will move to Ashford, and the townsfolk will smile too wide, and they'll ask the same question. You'll be here for the 4th, right? Red, white, and bleed. The 4th of July on Merriman Court always looked like a postcard. American flags in every yard, kids running with sparklers, dads drinking light beer in cargo shorts, and a sky full of fireworks by nightfall. Burgers on the grill, paper plates sagging with potato salad, and Bluetooth speakers echoing classic rock from every porch. It was a good neighborhood, clean, safe, until this year. Until the cutter came back. That's what the news called him, anyway. The Merriman Court cutter. A masked figure who, 6 years ago to the day, killed 5 people in a single night, vanishing without a trace. No motive, no fingerprints. Just bodies and blood smeared across a celebration. They never caught him. But that was years ago. Long enough for the neighborhood to recover, repaint, replace. Except for Grant Lacey. Grant lived alone in the same house he grew up in. His parents moved away after the murders. He stayed. Someone had to. He said it was about not letting fear win, but everyone knew it was guilt. One of the victims was his older brother, Drew, found in the backyard with his throat cut and a bottle rocket stuffed in his mouth. Grant didn't talk much anymore, just kept to himself. Watched the world from his porch like a statue, and tonight, he was watching again. Kids screamed joyfully in the street. Firecrackers popped in the distance. A man across the road fired up a portable smoker and high-fived a neighbor. Everything looked normal, happy. But Grant's eyes kept drifting, scanning, waiting. At 8:52 p.m., the first scream came. Sharp, wet, immediately smothered by the crack of fireworks overhead. Grant stood up. Across the street, a man was lying on the sidewalk. Blood spread beneath him like barbecue sauce. His wife stood over him, shrieking, her hands painted red. Nobody noticed. Too much noise, too much smoke. Kids laughing, firecrackers exploding, neighbors still pouring drinks. Grant didn't hesitate. He ducked back inside and opened a cabinet behind the fridge. From it, he pulled a shoebox with a gun inside, the one his father left behind. He hadn't touched it in 6 years. His hands shook. He stepped back out. The dead man was gone. So was the woman. He turned slowly, scanning the houses, and that's when he saw the mask. Standing behind a hedge near the Johnsons' garage, the same bone-white plastic face from 6 years ago. A blank oval with 2 black eye holes and a red line down the center like a crack. The cutter. Grant raised the gun, fired. The mask disappeared behind the hedge. He ran. He reached the spot seconds later, empty. No body. No blood. Just a scattering of bottle caps and a lawn chair tipped on its side. Grant? He spun around. It was Mrs. Lambert clutching a tray of hot dogs, her eyes wide. "What on earth are you doing with a gun?" "You didn't see him?" he panted. "He was just here." A scream tore through the air again, this time from further down the cul-de-sac, near the fireworks staging area. Grant ran. Mrs. Lambert shouted after him, but the fire in his veins was louder. As he passed the Bensons' driveway, he saw a smear of red across the trunk of a minivan. Inside the vehicle, a shape slumped motionless in the back seat. Too many people, too much noise. No one was noticing the slaughter unfolding around them. At the end of the street, 2 teenage boys were setting up a Roman candle rack. "Get out of here," Grant barked. "There's a killer." They just laughed. "Dude, are you drunk?" Then one of them saw it. The mask rising behind Grant, the knife glinting in the dark. Grant turned too late. The blade slashed his arm. He cried out and fired wildly. The shot echoed through the cul-de-sac. The killer vanished into the shadows. Panic began to spread. People were shouting now. Sirens in the distance. A child sobbing on the curb. Grant staggered back toward his house, clutching his bleeding arm. Neighbors glared. Some backed away. "He's got a gun. He's the one doing this." "No," Grant gasped. "No, it's him. The cutter. He's back." But they weren't listening. Not really. Behind the fence, a shape moved again. The mask. The cutter stepped into the light, and Grant opened fire. 2 shots. The figure dropped instantly. Neighbors screamed. Grant ran forward, hand trembling. The mask lay on the grass, face up. Beneath it, a teenage boy, maybe 17, blood pooling under his neck, eyes glassy, mouth agape. And then, from somewhere behind him, someone whispered, "He's not the cutter." Grant whirled around. No one there. But he felt it, that old sense of wrongness, like being watched through glass. Another shape darted past a window. This time, 2 masks. Side by side. A copycat? The blood roared in his ears. He fired again. By the time the police arrived, 4 people were dead. None of them were wearing a mask. 3 days later. The news anchors struggled to explain it. Local man opens fire during 4th of July celebration, killing 4, injuring 3. Authorities say Grant Lacey believed he was stopping a mass killing that wasn't happening. But police now believe it was all in his head. He claimed to see a masked figure from an unsolved crime years prior. They showed grainy home footage of Grant stumbling through smoke, firing at shadows, blood pouring from his arm. But no footage showed the masked killer. Just Grant. 1 week later. The cul-de-sac was quiet. Flags lowered, firework debris swept clean, lawn chairs gone, the grass already regrown over the blood. Grant's house sat empty, police tape flapping like bunting in the wind. Inside the Johnsons' garage, someone stepped through the shadows. A tall figure, wearing a white plastic mask. A second followed, then a third, each one bearing the same crack down the middle. They gathered in a semicircle. One reached into a plastic bag and pulled out a bloody firework lighter. Another set down a used bottle rocket. A third unfolded a photo, Grant years ago at a barbecue, smiling. They didn't speak. They just watched the street, waiting. Thank you for listening, and as always, stay safe tonight.